Hi everyone, this is Snodasman, the author of the game Galimulator. And I wanted to do a video that was just outlining or explaining the history of the visual appearance of the game and how it influences the gameplay in some way and how this changes over time. So what you're seeing here is basically how it all started. It's very straightforward, right? So I just generated a bunch of stars in some random place on the map and I drew them on the screen, and then I have connected them to each other with some clever algorithms, and I just draw those lines on the screen, and that's pretty much it. So I published this, and to my surprise, some people started playing the game, and those people had opinions on what they think should, let's say, be changed. And one of their ideas was to create not just this square galaxy, but actually to have something that looked like a galaxy, like this. And it's quite a staggering change, and not just this, but I also made other ones like grid, etc. And this has a pretty big impact on the gameplay, on how the game plays out. So you can actually see things like bottlenecks now. You can have empires fighting over spiral arms. It's a very interesting game now at this point. And then somebody suggested that I should do Earth maps. And I did. And they look like this, or they used to look like this, which is fine, right? So it's very interesting that we now have countries from Earth who we are now simulating. So we have the Ottawa Society, Greenland, Novosibirsk over here, and this is pretty cool. But I wouldn't actually say that this looks really good, because it's still pretty confusing. It's just still dots on the screen. They're overlaid on Earth. It's a very strange thing to do, is just to impose a picture of the Earth behind the stars, and then that's it. But still, it adds some interesting aspects to the game. But one thing I did to make this a whole lot more interesting, and to me this is one of the biggest steps in the history of the game, though probably nobody agrees, I added regions and borders to the game. So that now, instead of simply controlling points, the stars, you now control the region around the stars as well. And this is now visually clearly indicated on the map, so that you can see a geographical 2D representation of what each empire controls. And this is pretty hypnotic if you just watch it over time. You can see this orange blob of Kyrgyzstan absorbing what I think is Spain, because they have a higher tech level, and they're going to do that. But this, as I said, it's really important to me. So we're not just talking about points of control anymore, but now we have kind of regions of control. Then I also added these things. The overlaid empire names on top of the map and the emblems. And I think these are awesome. I don't know if anybody agrees, but to me this is really important to be able to get an overview of where the empires are. At least for me, this was pretty cool. So for the next release, somebody suggested, I think it might have been a YouTube user, that I just randomly generate maps like this. And they show up something like this. Okay, that was a bit too much land, but we can leave it here. So basically now we are not just in Earth or in Europe, but you can generate your own maps, and you can see how this all plays out. That's pretty cool. But as I was looking at this, I realized that there was one aspect of the game which has been around since day one, which is now, I think, just a distraction, actually, if I look at this map. It's the stars and the star lanes. They don't really belong in this map as such, so I thought, what would happen if you remove them? So now there is actually an option for this. And to me, it's suddenly everything is a lot more clear now. We simply pretend those stars aren't there. Of course they are still there, but you don't see them. And I don't know if you agree with me that this looks pretty cool, but I think it does, especially if you play it out on an Earth map. That's just suddenly it becomes a lot more like some sort of Earth strategy game instead of some strange hybrid. And this kind of asks some questions as well. If those stars were just a visual distraction, then maybe they are, let's say, taking something away from the gameplay that is there. So maybe it's better to consider these things as outright, let's say, two-dimensional territories rather than a star which happens to control some area around it. So I don't know exactly what it could mean from a gameplay point of view. You could have artifacts not orbiting stars but simply occupying a point, and then if that point happens to be in your territory, then you control that. And stars, they are basically capitals of territories in some way. Maybe it could have some impact of the gameplay, I don't know. So starting the next release, you'll be able to simply disable stars and star lanes and see what you think about it. And who knows what this kind of view will bring in the future. Okay, that's it. I'll just show you some time lapse of what this can look like if you let it go for a while. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. And this is also using the names from Earth, by the way. So we have Missouri in the south there, but the names are randomly placed, but still using the Earth names. So now Morocco is conquering the world. Okay, that is it for now. Goodbye.